Well, a little late start today with the vlogging and all that. Had a lot of stuff to keep track of, and I was checking on my DJI battery. Speaking of which, yesterday I said it's still in the limbo. I just got an alert that basically it's on its way here. So I guess everything is coming back and everything's working, like in terms of the repair process. Although I am wondering if they actually repaired it or if they're just giving me a new one. I guess we'll see. I think the only way for me to really tell is if I put the battery in the phone, like with the Go app. I think it tells you like how many charges or cycles it went through. So it'd be interesting to see if it says 0 or like, you know, another number. I would assume sometimes maybe they give you like a refurbished one too. But it'd be nice to have 2 batteries for when I go to the longer trips and so forth. Because like I said, if I have to go that far to get some footages and so forth for fun, I might as well have like 2 batteries. I did order some stuff yesterday really quickly because, as you all know, my other vlog, the 100th one, the umbrella is completely destroyed. So I decided, okay, time to buy a new umbrella. And at the same time, I decided I still needed to get another gimbal cover, so to speak, for the Mavic Pro. Because as you all know, that little tip broke off and I didn't think it's worth it to buy a new one. So instead I bought this, that sunshade or whatever you call it for the lens. So basically, maybe it'll help block out the sun too, at the same time work as a protector. I can't really test it, unfortunately. Well, one is not sunny enough to see if it works, but at the same time, I wanted to see if it actually intrudes on the actual film. So when you're flying, do you actually see that in the shot? So I can't really do a practical test, but I was thinking I might be able to do something though, just to see if it does like come into the shot a lot or not. Although I updated my Mavic Pro today, even though I haven't flown it for a while. And the interesting thing was when I updated it, you get all these like warnings and stuff like zone or whatever, like you're in a zone, like a no flight zone kind of thing. Like that's kind of interesting. Like did they actually update it like for the new regulations and all that? I did start reading into the SFOC stuff just to see like how the form and the process and stuff works. And so far it seems repetitive in the beginning. I can see how someone who's already done this for a while can probably just, for the most part, they have their template and they can copy and paste and so forth. But for the most part, it seems like you would like basically take like literatures, like say on the government site, you paste it into the document as a way to say like, quote, you've read this and you've understood it. I don't know, to me it's a little bit repetitive in that sense. And I'd personally, like, you know, just as a recreational person, like if that's your idea of trying to get like people to be more safe and so forth by reading that, I don't think that necessarily makes people more safe, honestly, like if they read all that stuff. But again, in some ways it seems a little bit crazy because like for me, like flying a drone, I don't fly it to like transport people, to carry like materials or packages. It's just to fly it up in the air for maybe like a few minutes, grab some pictures and videos, and then you're back down. So in that sense, it's a little bit of an overkill, I think, so far. I don't know, in many ways it makes me think the way they came up with this SFOC and stuff is they took something from a pre-existing procedure, like for aviation and so forth, kind of slapped it onto the drones, like, yeah, just do this. Even though it's kind of completely different in my opinion. I mean, to me anyways, it almost feels like, hey, we already have a system on how people get a car license and so forth. So for this person that's riding a go-kart, let's just kind of slap the same thing for the go-kart, here you go, and do this like same kind of procedure, understand the roads and all this stuff. But again, like I think it's a little bit of an overkill for like a casual flyer and all that. Especially for someone who's not doing it for like commercial reasons, like I said, like whether they're like flying something really huge near airplanes and all that, or like delivering like a package. Or you could change that to anything else, like if it's not a go-kart, like say you do want to like say ride on the road, it could be a guy riding a bicycle or something like that. Like imagine making the guy who's riding a bike have to go through the same licensing and test procedures as like, you know, any other car vehicle driver. The main topic thing that seemed to be popping up for me today are petitions. Both like for just like other stuff and as well like for the drone stuff here in Canada. So the first thing I read, which was related to that United Airlines story, which you've all probably seen by now, which is basically the employees like manhandling a person out of the plane where he was bleeding and all that. And apparently this created a lot of outrage where a lot of people did not believe that the airline, quote, randomly selected people. They thought it was like a form of racism because they thought the guy was like, you know, Asian and all that. They said, okay, you specifically targeted this guy. So apparently there was a petition of sorts that was created online. And as you can see, it was titled Chinese Lives Matters. And they got a lot of momentum. They had like over 150,000 signatures and so forth. And to my knowledge, this is an official petition site, like what the people in the US use when they want some kind of, I guess, change or investigation. Now the interesting thing here is, based on all the facts that I read, like just basically the things that were published, apparently the doctor, the person that was manhandled, wasn't even Chinese. Apparently he was Vietnamese. So that's kind of interesting, which kind of makes that, it makes me wonder how many people would have been that outraged, like for that sign his position, knowing that he's not Chinese now. But it made me think, because like even for the drones, like obviously right now petitions are a way to try to gather people together to like send it up to, like, you know, the government and say, hey, we want changes. But in this case, I think you can clearly see, I mean, emotions play a huge part of it, in my opinion. And that's basically what I think is necessary in many ways when you do petitions like that. You have to do something that actually connects and resonates with people, if that makes sense, as opposed to just all of the technical details. Like I personally think anyways, that's one thing that's been lacking so far, is the emotional connection and stuff with the regular, everyday people. I mean, like in that example too, it works. Like again, like apparently like the CEO of that company had like a completely different tune like before all this video and public outrage came out, like from like just everyday people around the world. So like apparently before he was like justifying it, like, yeah, I stand behind you guys, like this guy was being incooperative, so we had to, like, you know, use force. But now that all that pressure came out, their stock prices or whatever have been plummeting, he has no choice basically to say that, okay, I'll change this. I did see the apology and stuff too, and I personally don't believe it, honestly. It seems like he did it more out of a reaction of, you know, this pressure, the social pressure and the business pressure. So that basically then brought me to more related to drones, for example. Apparently there's people creating petitions on the official government site to try to like get MPs and so forth, like to voice the concerns of the drones and all that. Because I know a lot of the petitions currently, they're more, I guess, how do you say? They're more for social proof, if that makes sense. Like it's not an actual formal government body type of process. So it actually makes it kind of confusing right now, like in terms of which petition to support and all that. At the same time, I'm kind of confused by the dates, because some of these petitions, like they actually don't expire until like say towards the end of the year. And if I'm not mistaken, aren't these, like, maybe I'm wrong, like correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, but aren't these interim laws only valid until like say June, when the rules or whatever were supposed to be released? Like maybe I'm mistaken, but yeah, that's a little confusing to me too, like in terms of these petitions and all that. Maybe I will test that Sun Hood thing or whatever. I'll test it here and I'll do it in an interesting way. So here's what I'm gonna do, as you can see here. So I figured I'm not actually gonna fly it, I'm gonna handhold this and test it this way. So technically, I'm supposed to have my ID and stuff like that here. So how about I have my driver's license? I'm gonna hold the driver's license on the bottom or whatever, and basically, you know, just pan it around and do some film tests to see if I can actually see it in the shot. But for those who don't fly drones, in my opinion, this is how ridiculous it is. They want you, imagine you having to put your driver's license or something like that on the front of your car for everyone to see for some reason. I actually didn't bring my filters and stuff. So let's just see if it works. Because I know like the movements, basically, they're a little bit, if you go like really fast sometimes, the gimbal really tilts. So that's what I want to kind of test right now, just to see if you can actually see the lens hood or whatever. And as you can see there, I'm bringing it downwards, and you can kind of see the lens hoods coming in. You guys see that? Now that's one of my concerns was that these lens hood is basically when it's flying like that. Yeah, you can see there. You can see it in the shot when it's turning. So I turn it fast. Yeah, you can see them in the shots. That was my main concern about buying stuff like this, like in the beginning, like whether or not it actually would be practical in the long run. Because even though normally I'm flying, let's say I'm flying smoothly right now, like this, and then let's say, I don't know, it turns. You can see there. Turns, stop. So it would be completely useless in a sports mode, in my opinion. But again, I figured basically for the price, I might as well get this instead of a gimbal cover. So I guess the only thing useful about stuff like this is if you're literally flying like in a straight line like this, and basically there's no like sharp turns or anything like that. But just a quick test for people that were actually looking into stuff like this, I suppose. And there's my test for my driver's license on my drone. Does that make it legal, Mr. Transport Minister? I have my driver's license in my hand here. Again, yeah, for those lens hoos, I'm guessing basically it's only really useful if you're shooting, like, say, if I'm just going straight up, straight down, or just sitting there to get like a sunset shot, that type of thing, or a sunrise, whatever you want to, you know, depending on the situation. But it seems like, from what I gathered, like I said, you can't really fly it like around circles and stuff without it getting into the shot. Actually, speaking of SFOCs and stuff and complexity compared to, like, say, other things, I actually have to talk to a person tonight. It gave me that kind of an interesting idea to compare something in the future. I'm not sure how long it will take, but it will be interesting, I think. All right, anyway, see you guys later.